Welcome to this video, which will probably be significantly shorter than the first video that went over the activity involving the whole Nuggets roster data. In this one, I'm going over the Nikola Jokic statistics. He is amazing. He won the MVP. I love Nikola Jokic. He's fantastic. I've got a jersey of his. So I ask you to read in some of his statistics from ESPN. So I just give you this this link here. You click on it, and you can see this data. I bet a stupid video is going to play here, so I'm going to stop it because it will be annoying. Let's pause it. There we go. And Stephen A. Smith, who I find irritating, is there. Fantastic. All right. So if you notice here, there's many tables, and we're going to see then several data frames are read in. In fact, there's tables over here. There's table here, here, and here. This is even like kind of a table data. Like there's tables all over the place. So if I take the URL just from the top of my web browser, which is not part of my screen capture, and I make my string variable with that. So this is his regular season data that I'm going to grab. If you looked at it, right, see his regular season, regular season, regular season. Here's where his postseason is. Here, the URL changes. That's related to this second part, but we'll get to that in a second. So with that URL, if I go with data frame, Jokic, regular season, there's nothing regular about Jokic, by the way. He was the MVP of this, at least at the time of me making this video. So if I use now pandas and I read in the HTML from this URL, if I look at this and I say, okay, just read this in, see how many different tables are read into the list. Let's see. How many different tables? 7 tables are read in from here. Oh my goodness. So let's see if we can even guess what they are. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, here's 5. Maybe this is another table, which is 6. Where's 7 coming up? I don't know. Maybe this isn't a table format. Maybe that's the 7. Let's go ahead and see. Let's take this data frame, Jokic, regular. Let's look at the first one. Oh, look at that. That just says what years and teams he's played with. He's been a Nugget since his rookie year in 2015. So that appears to be this information. So okay, so if this is one data frame, or I'm not even sure if it is. Here's 1, 2, I think 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6. I bet this is the 7th right over here. Let's just see. So that's what 0 is. Let's see what 1 is. Okay, there's his regular season statistics. Yes, those are regular season. And then the second one, if you look at it, again, it's season and team. I'm pretty sure that's this from the totals. And then if we look at the third data frame, we see, yeah, those are total numbers, not per game averages. Although, see, there's total numbers of field goals he had in the year. And you can see, look at the numbers, no reason, and 6 here, like what's this value here? If you look at that, notice that's for the whole career, right? That's why it's important to look at all the table information here, because you might say, oh, that's a total for each, year, but this is the total. This is the career total, is that last entry. So, it's important to understand the info from that, and that's found in this other data frame here. That's the career one. And they just separated it into other data frames. That sometimes happens. It's unfortunate, but it sometimes happens with the way that they're formatting data on web pages. I think in order for them to have season and team, and they're just separating out like the statistics of the player from information about the team, the player played for during the year. The reason they might want to do that is there's certain players that, they get traded in the middle of a season. Sometimes they get cut or bought out, and then they play for multiple teams during a certain season. So you'd want to have maybe the total data and this regular season data, maybe you'd want to have them in separate types of data frames or separate types of objects to edit them separately. And then the way this data is formatted, you'd have to kind of know a little bit more about the structure in the relationship between different data frames in order to analyze it correctly. So this is just a good activity to get you the sense of this happens. This is a fairly simple case with non-complex data. But what I want you to do is just basically go through all these data frames, understand what each one is. So I want you to show and discuss what some of these different tables contain. So you should just, you could just simply go through each one and just say, this is what it is. This is what it corresponded to on this web page. This is how to interpret what that data means. Whether it's total data, whether it's per game averages, it's regular season data, the teams and years he's played, like this is the information. So I'm just asking you to just kind of look at it and line up what each of these 7 different data frames were. Then I ask you to also do the same thing with the postseason data. So I'm not going to do that here. Just go to postseason, repeat it, but you'll notice that there's different amounts of data in here as opposed to the other one. Why is that? Well, teams don't, and a player doesn't always go to the playoffs every year. So the postseason, which is the playoffs, is going to have different amounts of data. There's also different games played. All the things start to change in the postseason because there's inconsistent years. Sometimes teams are just terrible and they don't make it to the playoffs. There are plenty of years where the Nuggets almost made the playoffs and they didn't get in on the last game of the season. That happened a few years ago, 2 years in a row. It's very frustrating for a season ticket holder such as myself. But again, I just want you to try, just go through it, kind of summarize it, explain what's going on, just so you get used to understanding that just because you scrape data from a website, you still need to kind of usually do some investigative work to truly understand what's going on with that data and the relationship of data in one data frame to another data frame. So this is just a good exercise to just understand that this is sometimes requires a bit of grunt work, human work. Then I ask you to also try to get his data from basketballreference.com or NBA.com. I ask you to try it. One of these will fail. I'm not going to do this. I want you to go to both these websites, look up Jokic on these websites. Get the URL for his player data, for the where his player profile shows up. And you'll see tables of data there. And one of them will fail. It will not work when you go. It will say when you go to read in the data, it will say, "Oh, there's no data. There's no data to read in here." And you'll look at the web page and you'll say, "But there's clearly data." And I want you to try to figure out why it's having trouble with that. There's kind of no wrong answer as long as you're providing some answers showing you're thinking about it and did a little investigative work and try to figure out what happened, what went wrong. So that's really all I'm asking you to do in this activity. It's kind of a breather after this rather involved activity that was above it. And so that's it. I'm just going to kind of stop there as far as there's no real other activity except in part B, the reading and writing of data files. I ask you to make your own activities, and you do need to make at least one of your own that you get to define and solve in that part of the notebook. Now this is on the IO part, so the reading and writing of data to file. So you need to make your own activity, kind of in the style of an activity I make. It doesn't have to, as complex as you want to make it, it's up to you. This is to kind of get you somewhat warmed up for what's going on with the homework assignment, but you need to use the cyan borders, the way I kind of, separate out activities. Just make your own activity. Ask a question or give some instructions and then show how you would answer it. So this is an opportunity for you to kind of show off what you can do, but it has to be in the context of this IO stuff that's shown below. So that's it. That's the final video. I just wanted a separate one for that activity and to discuss this and emphasize this part that you have to do. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're missing a fourth of all the activities, because you still have to do the summary activity, of course. So there's 4 activities. It's just one of them is not made yet. You have to make it. So that's it. Thanks for listening.